Hello everyone, welcome to Money and Law with Nondumiso Njanga. I say yes, I have changed the name of the channel. It is now Money and Law with Nondumiso Njanga. I say so. For those of you who are new to the channel, please subscribe and also hit the notification bell so that you get notified when there is new content out. Today I'm doing a legal topic, so please note that this is not legal advice. I'm just giving you legal information, and if you do need clarity, I'm happy to respond on comments. And also I've just opened a Facebook page called Money and Law with Nondumiso Njanga. I say that is where I want to actually interact with people, so you can inbox the page. That's where you can reach me if you want to talk privately on the DMs, but only strictly legal and financial related questions and no manga business. Okay, so yeah, today I'm excited because I'm doing a legal topic, and I'm a lawyer by profession, so sometimes it excites me to read judgments. So I was reading this judgment the other day, and I decided let me actually do a video about this. So it's about maintenance and also prescription, so the Prescription Act. So you've heard people talking about how debts prescribed. They'll tell you that if you owe someone, or maybe you owe a store somewhere, and you haven't paid for 3 years, after 3 years they can't come after you because now the debt has prescribed. So you're going to be talking about a little bit of prescription and how it affects maintenance, but it's important for you to understand the Prescription Act and what applies where, because you can't not pay your bond then after 3 years you're like, yeah, this thing is prescribed. No, bonds, I think that prescribes after 30 years. So there's a lot that you need to know about it, but that's not where we are today. Today we're talking about maintenance, so I'll get to that later. So as I said, the video is inspired by the judgment I was reading. It's a Supreme Court of Appeal judgment. So this is one of the highest courts in our land, in South Africa. So maybe just a little bit of background about maintenance before I even get to the actual case. So maintenance, I would say when it comes to children, both parents have a legal duty. So in law, you are supposed to support your child, and this is a duty that is between both you, the mother, and the father of the child. So you can't say, no, the father is the one who is supposed to pay. Both of you are supposed to pay for this child. But obviously it depends on, how much this person earns and how much this one earns. I mean, if I'm earning 2,000 rands and my partner or ex-spouse or whoever I have this child with is earning 20,000 rands, and the child's needs are like 4,000 rands, you can't expect me to pay half because that's my whole entire salary. So it also depends on the needs of the child, and also how much each person or each parent earns. And then when it comes to spouses as well, so when you are married to each other, you also owe each other a duty. It's called a reciprocal duty to support. So it's a duty that goes both ways. You both are supposed to support each other, and upon divorce, both of you, so whichever party feels the need that, okay, I need to be maintained because I have a need, and my ex-spouse has the means to support me, they can actually claim that maintenance during the divorce process, and it's written in the divorce order, or they can go to maintenance court for that. So yeah. So the case that I'm going to be talking about, I'm not going to mention the parties. I'm just going to call them Mr. A and Mrs. A, right? So the parties, Mr. A and Mrs. A, got divorced in 1993, a long time ago, right? And then in terms of the court order, so they decided, okay, they wrote, consent papers where they say, okay, fine, I agree that I'm going to do this, and the other one agrees to do this. So the man, Mr. A, in terms of those consent papers, he agreed that he was going to be paying 2,000 rands for maintenance for Mrs. A, and then also pay 750 for both of their children, right? So yeah, and then those consent papers were made an order of court. So it was part of the order of court to say Mr. H is going to be paying maintenance for his spouse and his children, right? And Mr. A for 18 years didn't pay maintenance, right? And then 2018, Mrs. A is like, you know what? I want my maintenance. And now it's 3.5 million. I think it was around that amount. And she's like, you haven't paid maintenance since that time, I think 1993. And I want my 3.5 million. All these years, so Mr. A is like, there's no way. It's like, no, I don't want to pay this amount because number one, this thing has prescribed. So he used prescription. He's like, after 3 years, this prescribed, so I can't pay you this 3.5 million. And then he also said, also, e-maintenance is not for for you to accumulate. It's for living expenses. So when all these years, it means you've taken care of yourself, you were fine. It was not for you to accumulate. So you can't now, after 18 years, want this thing because it was for living expenses, which you've already paid, right? And then and he also says, no, but this is also going to prejudice me because now I have to, where am I going to find this money? Now I have to find this money to pay you while all these years you were not claiming. So it's just, it's against, said public policy or something like that. So he was telling that to the court to say, guys, no, I don't want to pay this amount. Okay, and then the court is like, no. Number one, prescription. Yes, we agree with there is a prescription act and stuff, and that it applies to certain debts, right? They stated that with a court order. So in this case, we already had a court order, right, that ordered this guy to pay. They said a maintenance order or an order that is made in a divorce for maintenance is a judgment debt. And in terms of a prescription act, Prescription Act ET, with a judgment debt, it only prescribes after 30 years. So yes, because there was already a court order that was made, we can't say it has prescribed after 18 years. It can only prescribe after 30 years. So it means if Mrs. A didn't claim after 30 years, then Mr. A could raise a prescription as this thing is now prescribed. But because he didn't, it's still within the 30 years, he's supposed to pay. So I thought, oh my goodness, this is such an interesting case because, some people actually leave these things. I mean, there is a court order that they got for maintenance. And then maybe 5 years later, the person it was made against, it has not paid and they just give up, right? So, I mean, it goes both ways, whether the woman was told that they need to pay maintenance for the child or for the ex-spouse who's a male or whichever part. People just tend to get discouraged after a person is not paying, and then they sort of just don't go after it. So it's important for you to understand that with a maintenance order, if it has already been made an order of court, it does not expire. So that debt, if it's accumulating. So you can still go back to the ex-spouse or to baby daddy or baby mama utlalela wena uyamkolota for all these years. But I mean, I think it's fair for you to actually tell this person early enough to say that you're not paying and I'm going to go to court. And if they are not, then go to court and claim area maintenance. So it's called area maintenance because Lomundo is in areas, right? They haven't paid maintenance that they were supposed to pay in terms of a court order. So the court in this case, I mean, mentioned a lot of things. They said, number one, yes, fine, we agree with it's been 18 years. But at the end of the day, if you wanted to change the terms of the order, you could have gone to court to change, but you sat and you didn't pay, knowing very well that you had an obligation to pay this maintenance, you decided not to pay it. So you can't say now you're being prejudiced because if you were doing the right thing from the get-go, you would not be in this position. So the court was not very sympathetic towards Mr. A, ne? They also mentioned that obviously the Maintenance Act is there to protect vulnerable groups such as women and divorced women and children. I know sometimes divorced men also suffer just the same, but they mentioned women, so let's not get into that debate. So yeah, they said that's why it's important it's 30 years so that they can still have that right to claim even after long, right? So I think, the important thing to take away from this case, number one, is that if you do have a maintenance order and the person hasn't been paying, whether it's the mother or the father, or if you are a spouse and your ex-spouse was ordered to pay maintenance for you specifically. And usually they say, for spouses, they'll say pay the spouse or the ex-spouse rather until they die, or until they remarry. And if you haven't died and you haven't remarried, the obligation is still there even after those years, right? So the obligation still stands, and you can still go and say, there was a court order, this person didn't pay, can I have my money back? You just go to court and you make an application for that to happen. So in that case, you can attach their salary to say, hey, listen, garnish their salary every month. Or if you see, it's okay, maybe this person has certain assets, you can also try and attach those assets. I mean, if they say no, they don't want to pay, or they say they don't have money, you can attach assets. And in certain instances, you can also you can also attach their pension, right? So if you have a court order that this person wasn't paying, then you can go to maintenance courts and say, listen, this is an order that I have. This person hasn't been paying. They are working. And obviously, they will tell you, Guti, I can't afford this on a month-to-month basis. Yes, it's okay. You can't afford it. But then you have pension that you've been accumulating all these years. I want that pension. So you can also attach pension. I know I am sounding a little harsh, but at the end of the day, especially for me with children, if you are a child, you look to your parents to support you. And if the parent is not supporting you, how else are you supposed to survive? Why must you suffer when you actually have a mother or a father who's capable of maintaining you? You didn't bring yourself to this earth. You didn't bring yourself in Mhlabeni. So why must you suffer when your parent is actually employed and they can support you? So they actually have to be held accountable. Be responsible, guys. You bring children to the world, be responsible, support them. And I know there's issues about, yeah, I know I'm paying maintenance, but this person doesn't allow me to see my child. That's a whole separate issue altogether, which is illegal as well. They need to follow that route, which is separate. Don't withhold maintenance because you can't see your child. Go to court and fight for that. It's a different issue. So don't. And women, or even men who stay with your children, don't withhold, a child from their parent, unless obviously if there's abuse issues and whatever, in which case in certain instances you can do supervised visits. But if it's a case of safety, then I totally understand. But also you need to follow the proper legal routes to whether get a protection order, whatever the case may be. But don't just use children to fight whether not to pay maintenance, or for the child not to see ubaba wakhe or uma wakhe. Just let's make sure ukuthi ingane zethu are healthy, and we actually don't use them for our own battles with our spouses or our ex-partners. And the last point I want to make is that, if you do have that court order, please, if you see that, okay, now I can't pay this, maybe I've lost my job, I've been retrenched, or maybe I was in business, I'm not making as much money, or maybe lo muntu that I'm supposed to maintain, maybe let's say it's a spouse that you're supposed to maintain, they've gotten a better job, they're even earning more than you. You can go back to court and say, hey, listen, I can't afford, this person is fine, doesn't have much of a need, and ask the court to actually consider such things. In certain instances, the court can actually vary the order if they see it's okay, the circumstances has changed, the circumstances have changed rather. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that today to say, please know your rights. This is a very interesting case. It was in the Supreme Court of Appeal, one of the highest court in our land, and it clarifies a very important issue. Don't sit on these things. Take action early, but if you haven't, you still actually have a right to go and claim. And yeah, I'll see you on my next one. Please leave some comments and tell me what you think of this new case. And yeah.